They said I was a failed trainee, that I sat in the third row during graduation. No name called. No applause. I kept my hands folded and eyes down. Everyone around me stood tall in their crisp uniforms, proud, loud, celebrated. I sat quietly, like always, then the instructor stepped forward. He paused, scanned the room, and pointed straight at me. That's her. The top scorer? The room froze. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the captain, the same one who once told me I lacked presence, gave a nervous smile. In that moment, every whisper, every judgment, every time they looked past me, flipped, and none of them saw it coming. I wasn't the kind of person people expected to see in a Navy uniform. My name's Amara. I grew up in a small town in North Carolina. Quiet house. Quiet life. I lost my mom when I was 17. She was my best friend. The one who always said, be strong, but be kind. She believed in me when no one else did. After she passed, my Uncle Ray, her older brother, stepped in. He was a Navy man, proud, tough, and very traditional. He said, your mom would have wanted you to do something real with your life, something strong. I didn't argue. I wanted to make him proud. I wanted to prove I could do something hard. So I joined the Naval Academy. From the first day, I knew I didn't fit in. The other cadets were loud, confident, fast on their feet. They had muscles, swagger, and something I didn't have, presence. People noticed them. Me? I was quiet, not shy, just reserved. I listened more than I spoke. I watched how people moved. I paid attention to what they missed. But in a place like that, it didn't count for much. They started calling me Mouse. It wasn't said with hate, but it wasn't kind either. I'd walk into the room, and someone would whisper, oh, here comes the mouse. I tried to ignore it. I kept my head down and focused on the work. Uncle Ray used to call every Sunday night. He'd ask how I was holding up. I never told him about the nickname. I didn't want him to think I couldn't handle it. Work harder, he'd say. Do better than they expect. Let your results speak. So I did. While they laughed in the common room, I stayed back and studied. While they raced ahead during drills, I learned every pattern, every routine. I wasn't the strongest or the loudest, but I was smart. And I worked like hell. Still, no one noticed. I passed exams, even scored top marks in tactical planning and strategy, but the instructors didn't say anything. Other cadets took credit during group drills. I stayed quiet. At night, I lay in my bunk and wondered if maybe they were right. Maybe I was just someone trying to prove something I'd never be, but deep down, something inside me refused to break, not because I wanted to win, but because I couldn't stand the idea of giving up. At the Naval Academy, silence is rarely respected. It's mistaken for weakness. That was my biggest battle, fighting not just to be seen, but to be understood. People thought I was soft because I didn't yell or throw my weight around. They thought I was scared. I wasn't. I just didn't see the point in making noise when I could use my time to learn and get better. But no matter how much effort I put in, I kept getting ignored. During field training exercises, I'd create backup plans and strategies. I'd quietly hand them to my squad leader. A few times, those plans saved our team from failure. But when the instructors asked who was responsible, no one mentioned my name. Not once. In classes, I raised my hand. I answered questions right. Still, the instructors praised the louder cadets who repeated the same ideas but said them with more confidence. I started to feel like I was invisible. The worst moment came during a mid-cycle evaluation. It was a one-on-one session with Instructor Kellen. He had a reputation, tough, fair, but cold. You never knew what he was thinking. When I walked into his office, I sat straight, ready to take whatever feedback came my way. He handed me a paper with my scores and started reading off comments. Technically solid, he said, flipping the page. You understand navigation and tactics better than most. But, he looked at me directly. You lack command presence. My stomach dropped. You're good on paper, he said, but out there? No one follows you. You don't lead. You just complete tasks. You're not ready for real responsibility. I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. Not because he was right, but because I didn't know how to respond without sounding defensive. I kept my face still, thanked him for the feedback, and left. That night, I sat alone in the mess hall with the report in my hands. Everyone else was laughing at some dumb joke across the room. I wasn't part of their world. I never had been. The paper in front of me felt like proof that I didn't belong. I called Uncle Ray. He didn't say much at first. Just listened. Then he asked, "Do you believe what they said?" I hesitated. "I don't know. Maybe." "No," he said firmly. "You're just not what they're used to. That doesn't mean you're wrong. You don't win by talking loud, Amara. You win by being undeniable. Show them something they can't ignore." His words stuck with me. From that moment, I stopped trying to be like them. I stopped forcing small talk, stopped pretending to be bold just to fit in. I accepted that I was different, and instead of hiding it, I used it. I started studying harder. I dove deep into strategy manuals, learned everything about military logistics, tactical formations, and emergency response. I stayed late in the simulation rooms, running solo missions and recording my results. I even began helping other cadets. Quietly, coaching them through weaknesses, solving their problems, but never asking for credit. I figured if they weren't going to notice me, fine. I'd just make sure they couldn't ignore my performance. Weeks went by, then months. My test scores climbed. I aced mission simulations. In one nighttime navigation drill, I rewrote our team's entire map strategy to avoid a trap. It worked. We won the exercise. Our squad leader got a pat on the back. I didn't say a word. What mattered more was that my plan had worked. And I had proof of it, because I'd submitted a private report to Instructor Kellen with the timestamps, my version of the route, and justification. No one said anything at the time, but I knew he'd seen it. I told myself not to expect recognition. I wasn't doing this for praise. I was doing it to prove, at least to myself, that I could outwork and outthink anyone, even if they never said my name out loud. Still, deep down, I wanted to be seen, not for glory. Not to be clapped for. I just wanted someone to say, "We were wrong about you." And so I kept going, quiet, focused. Tired, but never quitting. Something shifted in me after that phone call with Uncle Ray. It was the first time I realized I didn't have to become louder or tougher to lead. I just had to be better, so good they couldn't look away. I stopped chasing approval and started chasing results. I set a goal for myself. I wasn't going to leave the academy unnoticed. If they wouldn't give me the spotlight, I'd build my own record so solid that the silence around me would speak louder than their words ever could. I doubled down on my strengths. I studied tactical failures from past missions, read through years of archived training logs, and practiced scenarios that weren't even required. I memorized topographical maps of every location the academy used for training. I took apart every simulation, analyzing what made teams win and what made them fall apart, and when I noticed my classmates struggling, I helped. Quietly, some of them began to catch on. They started asking for tips before drills, small pieces of advice. I gave what I could without taking the credit. It was enough to know that I was becoming the person people turned to, even if they didn't say my name during the debriefs. But there was one final test that loomed over everything, the naval simulation trial. It was the capstone exercise, the one that carried the most weight. A 3-day simulation that tested leadership, tactical planning, endurance, and teamwork in real time. The highest scoring cadet from the simulation would be recognized at graduation. That was the only award given based purely on performance. With no instructor input or politics. I saw it as my chance. Not for revenge, not to prove everyone wrong, but to prove myself right. That all this effort, all this quiet work, had meant something. When the details of the simulation were posted, I studied every part of it, supply lines, terrain, possible enemy moves. But instead of following the default scenario they expected us to run, I created a different plan. A high-risk, high-efficiency route that would save time, reduce exposure, and give our team an advantage in surprise attacks. I stayed up late 3 nights in a row building the full operation outline. It had timing breakdowns, communication codes, and fallback options. I ran it through virtual simulations over and over. It worked every time, but I didn't tell anyone it was mine. The day before the trial, I submitted it anonymously to the review committee as an alternative scenario suggestion. I wasn't sure they'd use it. I wasn't sure they'd even read it, but the next morning, I saw it pinned to the inside of our squad's mission folder. They'd chosen my plan. I felt something light up in my chest, but I didn't say anything. I just nodded when the team leader explained the approach to everyone like it was his idea. That didn't matter. All that mattered was that the plan was going to be tested in the field, and it worked. Every detail went smoothly. Our team outmaneuvered 2 others, completed the mission objectives 2 hours ahead of schedule, and avoided 3 potential ambush points. The instructors didn't interrupt or redirect us. They just watched. When the trial ended, I expected nothing. That had become my default. I went back to my dorm, packed my things, and waited for graduation day like everyone else. That night, while finishing up a few forms, I found an envelope in my locker. No name on the outside. Just the academy seal. Inside, there was a single note. It read, "Top tactical score. Sit tight at final honors call." That was it. No explanation. No signature. I stared at it for a long time. Then I read it again. My hands started to shake, just a little. Not because I was nervous, but because for the first time, someone had seen what I'd done, and they couldn't ignore it. I didn't know what it meant exactly. I didn't know what would happen. But I knew that everything I had worked for, everything I had built in silence, was about to pay off. So I did what the note said. I sat tight, and waited for the moment that would change everything. Graduation morning arrived, and I stood in formation with my class. I wore my uniform neatly pressed, heart pounding in my chest. I felt the sweat on my palms even before the ceremony began. Months of sacrifice, quiet late nights, hidden strategy planning, all of it had led to this moment. I had no idea what was in that envelope, but I trusted it. I trusted myself. The drill commander called each name. One by one, classmates stepped forward to receive their diplomas, shaking hands with the captain and the instructors. Some paused to speak into the microphone, others saluted flatly and walked off stage. My name wasn't called. That letter had instructed me to stay seated. So I stayed, chin up, eyes straight ahead, trying to control the rush of thoughts inside my head. Who sends this? Who's noticing me, and why? The ceremony moved to the award presentation. The captain's voice rang out, "We now recognize the cadet who achieved the top tactical score in the simulation trial." My throat closed. No one else moved. I kept my hands folded in my lap, reminding myself to breathe. Then Instructor Kellen stepped onto the podium. The entire crowd turned silent. I could feel their eyes, some curious, some confused. He cleared his throat. In a program built on leadership, vision, and results, it's rare to see someone redefine what it means to lead. This next announcement is unlike any we've made before. I felt my chest tighten. People shifted in their seats. I still didn't know what was coming. No one called my name yet. Instructor Kellen's eyes landed on me. He reached into his pocket and removed a small folder with a golden crest. He unfolded it and held it up. This cadet did not seek recognition. She led from the shadows. She crafted a winning strategy. She made every move count, yet never took credit. He paused, then said with clarity, "That's her." He pointed directly at me. A hush fell. I could hear a pin drop. I saw the captain lean forward, a small smile on his face. The cadets who had joked about my silence now looked uncertain. Some whispered, "Is she serious?" Others exchanged glances. I sat up straighter. A surge of something hot and bright rushed through me, pride, fear, relief, awe. All at once. Then the captain spoke. "Amara Vale," he said, enunciating my full name. "Please come forward." My brain stalled. But my legs moved. I stood. My heart threatened to explode. The applause began softly, hesitant. Then it swelled. Faces I barely knew were clapping, cheering. A few called my name. The laughter, the whispers, they all vanished, replaced by something new, recognition. I walked up the center aisle. Every eye followed me. My breath was steady now. I reached the stage. Instructor Kellen extended his hand. I took it. He handed me the golden certificate. His grip was firm. His eyes met mine. He nodded. No words, but it said everything. Then the captain shook my hand and offered a congratulatory smile. It felt unfamiliar, warm, sincere, a smile not weighed down by doubt. I stood there for a moment, chest filling with emotion. I remembered the nights in the simulation room, the whispered criticisms from classmates, the Kellen's words in the evaluation. I remembered Uncle Ray sitting beside me in the mess hall, telling me to build something they couldn't ignore. And I realized I had done it. I had built something undeniable. When I walked off stage, my steps felt different. I wasn't the girl who had walked in timid and unsure. I was someone else now, a leader, a strategist, a force. The room erupted into full applause. Some cadets came forward to shake my hand. That was incredible. We didn't see that coming. Congrats, Amara. I nodded, gave quiet thanks, but didn't stop. I wanted to hold on to that moment, feel its weight, but I also knew it would pass. I carried it forward. After the ceremony, I found myself surrounded by classmates and instructors. The captain approached. He said, "You taught us something today. Leadership isn't just loud orders. It's consistency. It's competence." I nodded, swallowing. I fulfilled the single simple wish I had at the beginning, to make my work speak for me. In a corner, Instructor Kellen placed a hand on my shoulder. He said, "You changed the way we judge performance." Thank you. That recognition, from the man who once told me I lacked presence, hit me deeper than any award. It meant I wasn't just good on paper. I mattered. When I left the grounds that day, medal in hand, diploma in my pocket, I felt like someone born anew. I had entered that academy with doubt, mine and everyone else's. I walked out with proof that quiet determination, strategic thinking, and unwavering focus can outshine the loudest voice in the room. No cheering would ever feel as sweet as that moment. No words could match the sense that I had done it on my own terms. And as I walked off into the sunlight, I felt a steady confidence settle in me, one I couldn't lose, because it came from a place deeper than recognition. It came from knowing what I was capable of. A graduation ended, but the feeling stayed with me like something etched into my skin. For the first time in my life, I felt fully seen, not for who people assumed I was, but for what I had done. Not because I changed who I was, but because I had held on to myself even when no one believed that was enough. A few days later, I returned home to North Carolina. Uncle Ray picked me up from the station. He didn't say much at first, he never did, but when he saw the medal pinned neatly to my chest and the certificate in my hand, his eyes softened in a way I hadn't seen before. He nodded, slow and proud. "You did it, kid," he said. "You did it your way." That meant everything. We didn't talk about the ceremony right away. Instead, he asked how the drills went, whether the food was still terrible, whether I'd made any real friends. I told him the truth. I made quiet allies, not friends. But that was okay. I didn't need a crowd. I had earned my place, and I'd done it by staying true to myself. A few days later, I drove to the cemetery. The sky was overcast. The grass was damp, soft beneath my boots. I walked alone to my mother's headstone, tucked away near the edge of the trees. I didn't bring flowers. I brought something else. I placed the medal gently on the stone. "You told me I didn't have to be loud to be strong," I whispered. "You were right." I sat beside her grave for a while, watching the wind move through the trees, remembering how she used to hum when she cooked, how she hugged without saying a word. She had taught me that presence didn't have to be loud to be powerful. That love, like leadership, could be quiet and still change everything. That thought stayed with me long after I left. In the weeks that followed, I got emails from a few of my former classmates. Some apologized for how they treated me. Others just wanted to say congratulations. A few even asked for advice, on strategy, on leadership, on getting noticed when you don't fit the mold. That was the biggest shift, not the recognition, but the respect. Instructor Kellen sent a letter to my new unit commander, personally recommending me for advanced tactical roles. He included a copy of my simulation plan, highlighting the decisions I made under pressure. The man who once questioned my presence had now become my advocate. That irony wasn't lost on me. I started my new post a month later. Different base, new faces, but the same mindset. I wasn't going to change. I didn't need to. I kept showing up early, preparing more, watching closer, listening deeper. I didn't try to be the loudest voice in the room. I aimed to be the most reliable. The one who gets it right. The one others trust when things fall apart, and they did. Fast point. One day, a system error hit during a live training mission. Communications dropped. The senior officer froze. I stepped in, took control of the situation, rerouted the team, and brought everyone in safely. When it was over, the officer turned to me and asked, "Where did you learn to lead like that?" I just said, "I practiced being ready when no one was watching." That's the lesson I carried with me from everything. You don't need permission to lead. You don't need to fit a mold. You don't have to be loud or bold or admired. You just have to be solid, quietly excellent, steady when things get messy, consistent even when you're overlooked. Being invisible didn't mean I was incapable. Being quiet didn't mean I lacked strength. I had been building my skills in the dark, day after day, so that when the spotlight finally found me, I was ready, not just to be seen, but to stand tall in it. And now, every time I walk into a room, whether it's a briefing, a mission, or just another long day, I don't worry about being underestimated, because the truth is, there's power in being the one they don't see coming. That's what I learned. That's who I am, and I wouldn't trade that for anything.